it's time for the latest winter storm update. Here's how the storm is progressing and what to expect in your area. Stay tuned to the Weather Channel for the most up-to-date information.
I'm Carl Parker. You're looking at live pictures of a rapidly rotating storm in north central parts of Kansas, and our storm tracker Charles Peak has been following the storm. Moments ago, we saw an otherworldly view of a massive wall cloud. You could clearly see the rotation in the storm and a tornado extending from that. Obviously, it is dark now in Kansas, and so it's a lot more difficult to see exactly what's going on, but for the lightning that is illuminating the storm. But nonetheless, Charles has been out there and trying to give us a good look at what's happening here. Charles, what can you tell us now?
It's still looking like we've got a big wedge-shaped mesocyclone. Unfortunately, from exactly where I'm at right now, I cannot.
Oh, okay, Charles.
Based on what we saw earlier, you know, it looks that way, but I can't completely confirm that.
Okay. And you can, clearly see when the lightning illuminates it, there's that large, as you mentioned, wedge-shaped mesocyclone, a very well-developed wall cloud showing up. And, that is the lowering, that is the lower part of the rotating updraft in the storm, which is, as I mentioned, very well-developed and extremely strong rotation here. The only thing that is, that is not so bad about this is that it's in a, relatively unpopulated area of Kansas right now, at least for now. We can show you that here on the radar here. This is Geary and Waubonsee counties under warning until 8:15, and you can see how this thing is wrapping up. It is, however, coming towards the Alma area, and so I want you to, be ready for that. This is what I'm talking about on the radar. Extremely strong rotation showing up right in there. And so Charles is on Route 4, which is in here, and he's looking north. He actually, I believe, has turned a little more to the north now. He was on 4. He's on a dirt road now. But that is an incredibly strong rotation. In fact, just a moment ago, we were looking at the velocity data here. That's an inbound velocity of 115 miles per hour. Now, let's follow this and see where it's been headed over the last few scans. And so it looks like it is generally headed towards the northeast. And so if you are in the Alma area, you need to get to your safe place right now. There could be a large tornado coming your way. There is not now a tornado warning for your area as of yet. But just be aware, it looks like there has now just been issued a severe thunderstorm warning, I assume with the tornado possible tag there for the Alma area. But just be aware of the fact that you've got a large circulation just off to your southwest, and so you're going to need to be able to jump down to your safe place very quickly if that continues to move in that direction. Also want to show you what's going on in the Kansas City metro area, because we've got a very serious storm now coming in here. Johnson, Platte, Wyandotte counties under warning until 8:45. Tornado possible tag. Also a considerable threat for 2-inch hail that is larger than golf ball size hail. And you see where this thing is headed here. It's, coming right down into the heart of Kansas City. And I want you also to notice these really bright areas of reflectivity. And so right in there, that is where the large hail is likely to be when we look at what's called the ZDR. You see how all that is gray right along the intersection of 435 and 70, where it's gray there. That's the radar telling us that those areas of bright reflectivity are more rounded in
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for our area.
And again, that is very close. That's right on top of the intersection of 70 and 435. So that's coming towards Victory Hills, Nearman Hills, Pomeroy, coming towards the Missouri River as well. Eventually Parkville, Bethel, Wellborn, all of those areas. There's the river right in there. There's Parkville. And then, all these areas that are northeast of the intersection of 70 and also 435, that's where that largest of hail is likely to be. And we did just now get a report, Todd, of golf ball size hail. I'm sure that is part of what prompted this issuance of this considerable threat tag for the storm.
And just something there, too, we also got that tornado report really quickly as well. In fact, a new tornado warning, they just extended that, Carl, with that storm that you were just on, that Charles Peak was just on as well. They just extended a little bit farther off to the north. So, go ahead.
So this is exactly what we were talking about a moment ago here. So that, the Alma area is where you got to really be on your toes here. You got a very, very strong circulation now southwest of Alma. We'll show that in a moment. Go ahead and continue on with what you're doing.
Okay, so that tornado warning just been lifted there. Just want to show you some of the reports we had. When we were on earlier, this is that tornado report that Charles Peak was actually with right there over near Alta Vista, just to the north of Garfield. So we were just showing, Carl was just showing that on radar. And then in Alma, the ping pong size hail being reported as well. So all this is headed in that northeast direction. And this is just the beginning of what will be a very rough day, whether it is the tornado warnings or also the large hail, as we are seeing now getting close to the Kansas City metro area as well. But Carl, if you want to get to that tornado warning that had just been extended, heading over toward the Alma area in Kansas.
Yeah, that's right. And so the ongoing tornado warning is for Geary and Waubonsee counties. And then we've got the new tornado warning in effect here, and that's the downstream warning.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for our area.
Counties as well. I'm going to zoom in and take a closer look at the storm here. Look at this thing from a radar perspective. Look at that. Wow. I mean, that is not something that you see very often. Look at the circulation that is showing up. That is the rain wrapping around that tornado there as it is coming towards the Alma area. So please, folks, if you're in the Alma area, you need to get to your safe place now. We've got a very serious situation with this storm coming up towards Alma. It's moving north at 20 miles per hour, northeast at 20 miles per hour. Also could be 2-inch hail with this storm, and that is generally moving up towards that 70 corridor. But it is not often that you see a reflectivity signature like that. I mean, to see that core like that with a little donut in the middle, you're actually looking at the tornado in that case. So I'm going to circle this and show you. There's the reflectivity right there, and then we'll take a look at the velocity data, and you'll see this incredibly strong rotation showing up that is coming up towards Interstate 70, coming towards Alma and Route 99. If you're anywhere near Alma, Route 99, and the intersection of I-70, you need to get to your cellar right now, because you've got possibly a monster tornado coming your way in this area. Very serious situation with this storm. Jumping back into Kansas City, once again, we've got a threat here for very large hail. Looking at the possibility of 2-inch hail that is larger than golf ball size hail. Actually, a couple of different cores here. One of these cores is now right downtown, so that's coming right into the heart of Kansas City. You see the live view of Kansas City on the left there, and that's where we could be looking at some large hail. But then this larger core now just northeast of 435 and 70. That's coming up towards the Missouri River, moving towards Nearman Hills, Bethel.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for our area.
As well. A lot going on in Kansas tonight. We'll have more updates as necessary right here on the Weather Channel. Welcome back to our ongoing coverage of severe weather in north central Kansas. We've been watching a severe storm coming right into the heart of Kansas City. We'll have more on that in just a moment. Also now tornado warning in effect for north central Kansas, not terribly far away from Manhattan and coming towards
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for our area.
Monstrous storm coming up from the Garfield area and towards Alma as well. Here's a closer look at the latest tornado warning. It is moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. That's Riley and Waubonsee counties under warning until 8:30. I want you to see the velocity signature here. Very strong signature now showing up west of 99, and that is coming towards the Alma area. If you are in Alma, you need to get to your safe place. You need to get to that storm cellar as you've got a really strong circulation now coming your way. I want to show you another view of this. And so this is the reflectivity here. You notice the radar is really close to Alma. It's sort of the ironic thing about being close to the radar. You actually get a little bit of degradation of the data, but you can very clearly see that donut as it's coming towards Alma. Now, we'll go back a couple of frames and we'll see the direction in which this is moving. And so I'm going to go back to about there. That's where it was several scans ago, and as we go forward, you see that it pretty much moved in between the middle of those, maybe curved just a little bit, but pretty much in between the middle of those. So if it were to stay on that track, there's a chance that it would slide to the north of Alma, but that's really, really close. And so I think the best thing would be for you to get into your safe place right now there in the Alma area, as you've got a monstrous storm that is just off to the west and moving towards that 70 corridor and moving towards the 99 corridor as well. Beyond that may come up towards McFarland, but it might be farther to the west. Our storm tracker Charles Peak has been following this storm for quite a while, and Charles, some of what you were showing us earlier was just unbelievable. I mean, you just don't see storms like that very often.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for our area.
Okay, I don't know if we have Charles right at this moment, but we'll get back to him in just a moment. I want to jump over into the eastern part of Kansas, and we'll take a look at the warning here for Kansas City. That's Clay and Platte and Wyandotte counties. Now a destructive tag on this storm, looking at the possibility of baseball-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind as that is coming across the north side of Kansas City. So let's analyze this. Notice here we've got these areas of higher reflectivity. So right in there, and then there's another area that is closer to downtown. One thing that we can do is we can take a look at what's called differential reflectivity. And in those areas in particular where you see that grayish color right there, that's telling us that you've got very rounded shapes as opposed to flatter shapes. So that appears to be, among the worst areas in terms of that hail core, and the possibility of some baseball-size hail is now coming into the Parkville area, as well as, along the 435 corridor or just east of that, moving towards the Missouri River, also eventually coming towards Nearman and Platte Woods, Weatherby Lake, along 152 there as well. So in all of those areas, we've got the possibility of baseball-size hail. That's 2.75-inch hail, exceptionally large hail moving through those areas. But we also see higher reflectivities farther to the south here as well. So, large hail in general now coming across the Kansas City metro area. We have had at least one report of golf ball size hail. It has been a very scary night here in the Kansas City metro area. Todd?
Yeah, and just as far as the storm reports go, Carl, the longer we go, the more these reports coming in. But it's amazing with the tornado threat that's just off to the west. And now,
a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for our area.
Also got Edwardsville. That's that 2.5-inch size hail, again, tennis ball size hail that has just been coming out of this. So a lot of the worst, the hail, mainly to the west of downtown Kansas City. But this is just the beginning of what could be a very tough day overall, because as we're starting to see the severe thunderstorm warnings is starting to pile up now, but now also starting to see the local storm reports coming up as well. So that is what we looked at early on. This is just about a good 20 minutes ago. So at least a tornado report that was just outside of Alta Vista, just north of Garfield there, and then in Alma, where we still have that ongoing tornado warning. As we look at the bigger perspectives here, we do have tornado watches in the area that is we're looking at right now until 1 o'clock Central Time, really on either side of Kansas City right in the middle of that, but right along and north of the I-70 corridor, Carl. And then we have the severe thunderstorm watches on either side. It does include Columbia and St. Louis, and I-70 to the east, and also I-70 to the west for a good chunk of north central Kansas.
And jumping back right now to that tornado warning for Riley and Waubonsee counties, we're watching the circulation. It's coming up very, very close to Alma. You can see in the last several scans there that the trajectory might be to the west of Alma, but it's going to be really, really close. So please, folks, if you're in the Alma area, get to your safe place right now. It's coming up towards I-70 as well. We'll continue to follow this, and we'll have more coming up. Welcome back into our coverage of what has been a very scary night in north central and northeastern parts of Kansas, Kansas City included. There is now a warning for destructive hail in Kansas City. Baseball-size hail is the concern here, as the heart of Kansas City now facing the worst of that storm. We'll get into that in just a second. I want to show you the latest on tornado warnings that have been issued across the north central part of the state. We have been watching what has been a monster storm here coming up through Riley and Waubonsee counties, and that is now moving towards the Alma area. Now, I want you to notice the character of the storm. You see there was a really well-developed swirl on the south side of that storm. It's not as well-developed right now, and in fact, as we look at the velocity data right in there, you see there is a circulation that's getting very close to Alma. It does appear that it is moving towards the northeast, so it may slide just to the west of Alma. It's going to be really close. But look at the character of that velocity signature. I mean, compare that velocity signature right there to the next one here. So it does appear
a tornado warning has been issued for our area.
With this storm, let's hope that that continues to be the case. Our Charles Peak, our storm tracker, has been following the storm in the dark. Charles, I know it's a tough thing to do, to be out there when you've got only the lightning to see what you're looking at. But you know, I was saying earlier, you just don't see storms like that very often, storms that are as well formed as that one was.
That is correct, Carl, and in a position to have a perfect view of it across an open field and not have it rain wrapped. Now, I'm pulled up. I'm just to the south of Alma here, and the rain has wrapped around. I'm in some hail. We've got some, it looks like maybe a $quarter to $half size hail stones at this time, needless to say, not stopping to measure them. But it is a situation that, I'm not in a position at this point in time because of the rain to give a visual of it. So I'm going to find a place to pull over here. If I can't give us a shot of it, there's no sense getting any closer than I have to until this passes, and then try to get another angle at it.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. And Charles, we certainly do appreciate you being out there tonight. So Charles is on this 99 coming up towards Alma. There is the circulation right there. I also want to show you there's another tornado warning farther towards the northeast. There, by the way, is a live look at Alma. A lot of lightning with the storm. There's a threat for very large hail as well. Another tornado warning here for Jackson, Potawatomi, and Shawnee counties. This is north of Interstate 70 and moving towards the northeast at 20 miles per hour. You see the little swirl there on the southwest side of the storm. That's where the tornado likes to sit, right in that little curlicue. And so it looks like that is going to be moving into mostly less populated areas. However, there's this town of Rossville that is going to be close to it along that Route 24. Certainly something to keep an eye on there. And we want to jump back.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Because, again, we've had this threat for baseball-size hail. There is a destructive tag on this severe thunderstorm warning as the storm is now coming through Kansas City. Look at the reflectivities here. Very high reflectivities indicating exceptionally heavy rain and large hail. We've gotten reports of at least golf ball-size hail that I have seen so far. This is now an either side of the Missouri River, coming towards the north side of town, right at the area where 29 and 35 where the split is there, so Northmore, Riverside, up towards Gladstone as well. This is going to be coming towards Pleasant Valley and Claycomo, Wynwood, and all those areas. Very large hail is going to be a threat, and there's the brand new, we were certainly anticipating that, brand new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued by the Weather Service in Kansas City. And again, continuing with that destructive tag here, looking at the possibility of 3-inch hail now. 3-inch hail is what they're looking at. So that is larger than baseball size hail. I mean, that is a level of hail that can cause significant damage to homes as well as to cars. And again, that is coming up right through the heart of downtown Kansas City. Let's track that area out. I'm following this core right in there. I mean, that is the meanest part of the storm, and let's see where that's going to be headed in the next few minutes as that moves off to the northeast. That's going to be coming into the Glen Eyre area, Liberty, Riverbend, Chandler, and Missouri City as well, which is not to say that, you know, other parts of the storm are not dangerous, but that's where that largest hail core is right now. That's where it's going to be headed, coming right down the 35 corridor. A lot of 435 where it intersects with 35 and out along 291 as well. Many areas in for potentially exceptionally.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
3-inch hail in the Kansas City metro area that is larger than baseball size hail. Devastating storm now coming across the Kansas City metro area in terms of the hail threat. And we'll have more on this coming up in just a few minutes.
And now it's time for the latest winter storm update. Here's how the storm is progressing.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Stay tuned to the Weather Channel for the most up-to-date information.
I'm Carl Parker along with Todd Bork, and we are following severe weather tonight in north central and northeastern parts of Kansas, also getting into western Missouri. Looking at some ongoing tornado warnings here. We saw a monstrous storm coming up towards the I-70 corridor. There is now a new warning associated with that storm. That's Waubonsee County under warning until 9 p.m. Looks like the part of the storm that was near the Alma area has now weakened. I want you to see, you know, what's happening here with this velocity data. Extremely strong circulation showing up there southwest of Alma, and you see that as it got closer to Alma, sort of washed out there. Thank goodness for that. But there is now a new warning for another part of the same storm, and you see the little appendage that has developed right where the radar is, actually coming up towards that I-70 corridor, and that is going to be moving towards the Maple Hill area as that continues off towards the northeast. Our Charles Peak has been following this storm for quite some time now, and Charles, also one of the big threats with the storm is large hail, and that's what you're getting right now.
Yes, Carl, the hail is coming. I'm trying to work back up towards 70. Unfortunately, it's not a good run.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Up into the hail core. So right now, I'm just trying to see what I can do and get in a good position.
And it looks like
I'm not able to, Carl, to see any of the storm. It's completely rain wrapped from my perspective at this point in time.
And Charles, just an amazing view earlier, just an extremely well-developed wall cloud and tornadoes dangling from that for a period there.
Yeah, it was, you know, as you know, the first time when we saw it, it looked like it was about to form. And then when I repositioned, you know, we could see a cone-shaped tornado there for a little bit, and then that lifted up. And as we were talking earlier, we saw two lowerings, and it looked like, as best I could tell, they sort of merged together and been one huge mesocyclone that then looked to have fingers touching the ground and become a complete tornado at that point in time.
It was just a remarkable sight, and we're hoping to get that video before too long here of what you were looking at earlier. I want to continue on with some of these warnings, including one for Jackson, Potawatomi, and Shawnee counties. This is north of Interstate 70 near the Rossville area, so we're watching that little appendage there, and the area that it sits right in there where that appendage is where a possible tornado would be. It looks like that's going to be in a more rural area going forward. We have also been watching a massive storm coming across the Kansas City metro area, a destructive tag along with this storm here. The latest warning indicating the possibility of 3-inch hail, and there was a report of 3-inch hail. We're watching this massive core now coming across the north central part of Kansas City. There you go, Bonner Springs. Hail actually measured at 3.5 inches in diameter, so that is softball size hail in Bonner Springs.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
That large causes, incredible damage. I mean, it just makes
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
And roofs as well. Shawnee 2.5, so tennis ball size hail. And we're watching that core now coming up across the north side of the metro. So you see the very high reflectivity sitting right in there. That is moving through the 35 corridor as we speak, coming through Liberty, headed towards Mosby, Excelsior Springs, also towards Wood Heights and Crystal Lakes. And so I'm going to zoom out so we can get a better look at where the worst of this storm is going to be headed. And so, a large area being impacted by this storm here, looking at the possibility of exceptionally large hail coming towards River Bend, Chandler, Missouri City, Kearney, and also Excelsior Springs. It has been one heck of a night in Kansas City and then farther west along I-70 as well. But let's talk a little bit about where we're going to go from here. And here's Todd with more on that.
Well, the big thing, Carl, is the fact that we're still dealing with that tornado warning. The large hail, particularly in and around Kansas City, I think this is going to be something we're going to have to deal with for the next couple of hours. Let's get really quickly to some of the storm reports, and then we'll talk a little more about what we can expect later on. But you can see the hail beginning to pile up in around Kansas City, and a couple more of the storm reports coming in with the tornado. So I'm going to go and at least look at that. That was the first one that came out for Alta Vista, that tornado. And then just to the north of Alma, we have the 1-inch size hail. Let me get these other reports here, where in Roswell, the public reports relayed by the emergency management of a tornado on the ground at 62nd and Valencia near Rossville. This is all in Kansas. So starting to see those reports come in, and that is why having people like Charles Peak out with the eyes on the ground, be able to get reports like this, and the other storm trackers that are certainly out there. So this is going to be something we're going to continue to see, not only for these tornado reports, but also
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Reported around 64th Street and Monticello, and also just to the in around the Kansas City area. You can see now we're starting to see some reports from downtown Kansas City itself. That's this report right there for 1.5 inch size of hail that has just come out. Now, for the remainder of today, we're not done with the severe threat. We have the tornado watch still in effect. That is the red shaded area, really on either side of Kansas City, right along the I-70 corridor, as far north as St. Joseph's, as far south as Emporia, Kansas. That's until 1 o'clock Central Time. We have the severe thunderstorm watches. Those are the yellow areas on either side of that. That for north central Kansas and a little sliver of southern Nebraska until 12 o'clock midnight Central Time, and also on the I-70 corridor from Columbia towards St. Louis and then into parts of southwest Illinois. The severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 11 o'clock. Let me time this out. And again, we're looking at one of the short-term models. Don't take this exactly as is, but just notice what we're trying to see here as far as these supercells that are popping up. And notice a lot of this activity are going to be mainly to the north of I-70. Doesn't mean that we won't see storms continuing in Kansas City or St. Louis by the midnight hour, but at least as far as the short-term modeling is going, it looks like it wants to take some of these storms off to the north. But what I want you to get out of this is that at any time we can still see a lot of this activity, the hail, the severe thunderstorms, and yes, even that tornado threat through the midnight hour and into the overnight. Then eventually more of a straight-line wind threat could come during the overnight hours, Carl, and that will continue through parts of central Kansas into more so Missouri and into areas after that. And just so we know, look at that, for tomorrow. We're not done yet, Carl. A multi-day event, same place is getting hit right now. Look at Kansas City just to the west, and then also into St. Louis and down into the Ozarks. Yeah, we have the threat for severe storms again.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
In the Kansas City downtown camera, we saw very heavy rain and hail coming right through downtown moments ago. Things are improving in downtown as the worst of the storm is now moving towards the northeast. So once again, a severe thunderstorm warning for Clay, Jackson, and Platte counties, looking at the possibility of baseball-size hail. And so that core, that area where the highest reflectivities are, is now on the northeast side of town. That's along the 35 corridor, getting out towards Liberty as well. Let's take a look at where that's going to be headed in the next few minutes here. And so certainly an ongoing threat for very large hail, which we have seen in any of those areas. Be prepared. Could be some really noisy weather coming your way, and we'll have more of this coming up.
Has been issued for our area.
Welcome back to our special coverage of what has been a really scary night across parts of northeast and north central Kansas. There you're seeing a live picture from Waubonsee County in Kansas. In the wake of these storms that continue to be tornado warned, our storm tracker Charles Peak has been following this weather. And Charles, we've got some of the video of what we both saw happening in real time earlier, and that was just, I can't remember the last time I saw something that ominous live on TV. I mean, that was just amazing. I'm sure it must have been even more incredible in person.
Cone-shaped tornado, and then that lift, and then to go to that huge mesocyclone with multi-fingers touching the ground there, and big wedge-shaped tornado in such a fast manner. It was just incredible.
It really was. I mean, all these cells popped up very quickly, but we saw a really strong circulation showing up with this storm. And so what you're looking at there, that big tube-like feature, is basically the bottom of the rotating updraft that extends through the cloud. In this case, it was an extremely strong rotation showing up with this storm. And, Charles, from what I could tell, it looked like when it was at its peak, it looked like it was pretty much out over open country. I don't know if that's your impression as well.
Yeah, Carl, in that area, there was, periodic farmhouses and stuff. And so
a tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Very well spread out. And so obviously my hope and prayer is that when it was on the ground there, it did not hit anybody and hit anything. There are a lot of law enforcement moving around, but that can also be just because we've had tornadoes on the ground and stuff. So, needless to say, we'll get reports here, but where I've been and where I saw, I haven't seen any damage yet. And so let's just hope that continues to be the case.
Charles, I've said for a long, long time that, I've been out to the plains a number of times, and when I've seen storms out in the plains, that, my impression is that they are just really different animals as compared to what people are used to, say, on the East Coast. I just don't know that I've seen too many cases of something as well formed as that. Is that certainly up there in terms of what you've seen?
Yes, there was one, and I know it was Kansas, I believe, last year, the year before. They start running together for me. That I saw one of those that was similar to that, but not too often do you see them. And like you're saying, both of those cases were in Kansas, where I've seen those types of situations.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, you have these extremely high bases, and generally the visibility is good, so you can really get eyes on these storms. But then the cloud actually lowers as it's creating a
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Within that rotating updraft, it's creating a lower pressure, and so the condensation is occurring more quickly than it does in other parts of the clouds, and that's why you see that lowering there. Now we're looking at, I believe, another shot of when you actually saw a little V-shaped tornado. That was very early on, Charles.
Right. That was early on when we were watching those two different nubs that turned in. One of them turned into a funnel, and then out on the right-hand side of the whole mesocyclone, and it ultimately, formed that cone-shaped tornado. You know, one of the things that I know Dr. Forbes used to talk about, Carl, was that if the condensation part of the tornado doesn't always reach all the way to the ground, but it's still a tornado if you've got ground circulation. And he would say that if you had 2/3 of the way down, you're likely got a tornado because the circulation is probably on the ground. And so, when we were seeing earlier those little fingers, touching the ground, that's what made me believe that we did have a huge tornado on the ground.
Yeah, that's even more common in parts of the plains where the air can be drier. I know the dew points were only in the low 50s going into this event, and so it's not at all uncommon for that to occur where you actually do have a circulation, but the only way that you can really tell for sure is when you see what is called a suction spot, where you see a dust envelope that is developed at the base of that tornado. Just a remarkable scene there, Charles. We thank you so much for your work tonight. We certainly appreciate everything that you've done for us, and it's just an amazing shot that you gave us earlier tonight. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to do that.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Here, just northeast of Kansas City, we have had a report of 3.5-inch hail. That is softball size hail on the west side of Kansas City. There's an ongoing threat here. This is the latest warning for this storm. Slight downgrade down to tennis ball size hail, as if that would be somehow much better. Certainly that's going to be very difficult as well. Clay, Jackson, and Ray counties under warning here. And let's take a look at where the worst of that storm is headed. So I'm going to move just a little further northeast, and we can kind of track the leading edge of where that heaviest rain and that hail threat is. That coming towards Excelsior Springs, moving towards Crystal Lakes, coming towards Rayville and Richmond as well. So, Todd, it's been one heck of a night here across the eastern part of Kansas.
Yeah, in fact, I just saw that report from Bonner Springs there for the baseball size hail. This is over in Kansas for right now, just like you said, for going from a 3-inch to a 2 3/4 size inch hail. That just amazing. Think of the amount of damage and destruction that could do just for anything that happens to be outside, whether it's an animal or your car or whatnot.
Your car would be totaled in
Absolutely.
that case. Yeah.
So again, that is just some of the reports. So obviously we're looking at the tornado threat, but hail is going to still be quite a dangerous situation here. Again, this is over in Kansas. That is the largest hail we've seen so far, and you can see the hail reports all over in the far eastern Kansas and also in and around the Kansas City metro area. Not only there, but also farther off to the east on the other side of I-70, going back to basically the 1985 World Series here for St. Louis. We have about inch-size hail, so the hail isn't as strong.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Kansas City, that's until 1 o'clock. We have the yellow shaded areas here. Severe thunderstorm watches until midnight and 11 o'clock respectively.
Welcome back to our special coverage of severe weather in northern Kansas and parts of Missouri. You're looking here at the evolution of these storms over the last 3 hours. They just blew up very quickly, and along the warm front, notice how there is a lot of instability from I-70 and on southward, and less so to the north of I-70. That's where the warm front is sitting, and as these storms continue to move north and north of that warm front, we're going to see less in the way of all-around hazards. We'll still see certainly a hail threat, heavy rain, lightning, but less of a damaging wind, and certainly
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Nonetheless, we still have some ongoing warnings to tell you about, including here a warning in the Kansas City metro area. Clay, Jackson, Ray counties under warning for the possibility of tennis ball size hail, and also damaging wind. Looking at a really impressive core now just outside of, or actually coming into Oric right now. I'm going to circle that area where that high reflectivity is. We'll look at something called differential reflectivity. You notice how that red color drops off into the middle there where you see blue and gray colors. That's the radar telling us that where we're seeing that very high reflectivity, we're seeing very rounded objects. Rain tends to be flatter, falls like a pancake. Where you see more rounded objects, you know there's a better chance that it is large hail. So that now coming up into the Oric area, moving towards Route 10. It's going to be moving towards Richmond and also Rayville and Wood Heights, and all of those areas could be some really large hail coming your way. And I'm going to zoom back out and we'll time this whole thing out to show you how this is going to be moving. And as that continues off to the northeast, coming towards Excelsior Estates, Richmond, Henrietta, and Knoxville. And all of those areas could be some large hail and damaging wind coming your way. And take a look at some of the reports that we saw earlier. Bonner Springs,
a tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Size hail being reported at Bonner Springs. You know, that kind of hail just causes extreme damage. And then Shawnee report of tennis ball size hail. So it has been a very, very tough night here. Farther to the north also, golf ball size hail threat coming up into the St. Joseph area right now. Considerable threat tag along with that storm. Let's get a look at, you know, how things are going to evolve over the next few hours. And here's Todd with more on that for us now.
Well, and as you were talking about those temperatures, Carl, it's amazing to see. Yeah, if you go farther south from the I-70, you're still talking about temperatures upper 60s near 70. Warsaw at 70, Columbia at 69 degrees. Kansas City, of course, some rain cool there, 62. And then low 60s and even some upper 50s as you cross the border into southern Iowa. So, yeah, we're setting a stage for a lot of the activity where that warm front is. And now for areas to the north of that, still under that tornado watch. That is this entire red shaded area until 1 o'clock Central Time, going as far north as St. Joseph, Missouri, as far southwest as Emporia, Kansas. And really on either side of the I-70 corridor, we have that tornado watch. So the threat is certainly there.
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Again, all along I-70, so really a treacherous drive from southwest Illinois all the way through St. Louis, Columbia, Kansas City, over toward Hayes, Kansas, where you have at least some severe thunderstorm watches there, in fact. And we are going right back to Charles Peak right now, at least a live look at some lightning there. He is still sitting at in Kansas, just outside of...
A tornado warning has been issued for our area.
Todd Borick here. A real quick question for you. You obviously have a great spot now. What direction are you looking with this shot?
I'm looking north here. I'm at I-70. Looking north here as these cells have crossed the I-70 corridor here.
And as far as you've seen so far heading up that way, have you seen hail on the ground, any obviously type of damage? The good thing is it doesn't seem like there's a lot of cities out that way, but anything you've seen in its wake?
You know, obviously multiple times there's been lots of hail. You can see right here in front of me, there's a little funnel that you can see just barely out there.
Okay, well, again, thank you so much, Charles Peak, for being the eyes and ears for us out there. Carl, we still have some severe thunderstorms and some tornado warnings to worry about through the rest of the night.
Yeah, and an ongoing warning near Manhattan, Kansas, looking at the possibility of some 3-inch hail. We'll have more updates as necessary.